Well, welcome to this course. I hope you'll enjoy it. I think you'll find it very rewarding. This course is titled Start Your Career in the Private Security Industry, Security Officer Training in Today's Job Market. We're going to cover the lectures and course outline in this presentation. So a little bit about this course. There are 18 lessons, and each lesson covers a very specific topic or skill from the real world of private security. So who's the target audience for this course? Well, the target audience includes those wanting to work in the private security industry, college graduates or military personnel exploring a new career, those seeking a second career and retired law enforcement, and corporate business professionals who work closely with security personnel. Let's cover the course lectures. Lecture number 2 is titled The Private Security Profession, Career Opportunities. This is where we're going to dive in and really give you a look at the possibilities for you to have a lucrative career in the private security industry. Lecture number 3, What Employers Want in a Security Professional. Lecture number 4, A Guide to Using the Phonetic Alphabet. Lecture number 5, A Guide to Using Your Radio 10 Codes. Both of these lessons will greatly improve your radio communication. Lecture number 6, How to Accurately Describe a Criminal Suspect. And yes, there is a wrong way and a right way to describe a suspect. Lecture number 7, Lost and Found, a Security Officer's Guide. Lecture number 8, Missing Child Alert, the Security Officer's Role. Lecture number 9, Verbal Judo, 10 things you should never say to anyone. Lecture number 10, Basic Report Writing. This is a key skill. Lecture number 11, Current Graffiti Trends. This is where we'll dive into the world of graffiti and what we're seeing now out in the real world. Lecture number 12, Testifying in Court, Practical Preparation. Again, a very important module for a skill that you will need sometime in your career. Lecture number 13, Retail Security Officer, an Introduction. Lecture number 14, A Security Officer's Guide to Putting Out Fires. Now this is literally putting out fires. Firefighting skills. Lecture number 15, Terrorism, Recognizing the Signs, a growing and disturbing trend. Lecture number 16, The 5 Steps to Professionalism for a Security Professional. And lecture number 17, Hidden and Unusual Weapons, an Officer Safety Guide. And then we'll round out the course with lecture 18, Course Conclusion and Additional Resources. So as you can see, there's a lot packed into these lessons. So what will you learn? Well, you're going to discover the broad range of opportunities in the private security industry. You're going to discover the reasons why there's a strong demand for private security professionals, especially after the event of 9/11. You'll obtain skills needed to obtain a private security position. This course will definitely put you in front of the pack of other candidates. That's literally a guarantee. You will also discover the salary ranges available to the private security professional, and these will surprise you in a good way. So a couple things about what this course does not cover, because I want to be very transparent. There are other additional training videos coming in the near future, but these lessons do not cover active shooter training, CCTV systems, locks and keys, loss prevention, internal investigations, corporate investigations. However, in my opinion, the number one priority today for the private security industry is the need for more training. This is so important for the security professional. Let me ask you a question. And do you know the difference between a security officer and a security guard? It's about $15 an hour. I don't know about you, but $15 an hour is a huge difference when you want to make a good living. And training is the key. The more training and experience you have as a security professional, the more money you will be paid and the more value you will provide to a potential client. So advanced training for security professionals is coming in the near future, as I mentioned. Stay connected with me here to discover when it becomes available. I'll give you a sneak peek of that training. We'll cover armed robbery training, catching thieves in retail stores, how to spot an armed suspect, advanced verbal judo tactics, how to be a human lie detector, handcuffing techniques, an introduction to human trafficking, dealing with difficult people, crowd control, street gang dictionary, drug recognition, and much, much more. Oh, and one more thing. This course is not about me, it's about you. But just in case you were wondering, this is me. I want to tell you a few things about me, your instructor. I currently live in Southern California. I literally survived the Rodney King riots in Los Angeles. That's a whole nother lesson in itself, which I may dive into in the future. And I am a licensed private investigator in the state of California. I'm a member of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. And in my 27 years of experience, I've completed a lot of unique assignments, but I've had some special times too with providing security for Olympic medalists, professional athletes, Hollywood actors, political dignitaries, and some of my favorite assignments working with the Medal of Honor recipients. I love Angels baseball, Charger football, volunteering at my church, and helping others like you. So that's a little bit about me. I will be your instructor throughout these 18 lessons, and I hope you enjoy the material, and I think you're going to get a lot from this course. So welcome, and this will conclude this lesson, and we'll see you on the next one. Well, welcome to lesson number 2, the private security profession, career opportunities. Let's talk a little bit about the history of private security, and then we'll talk about the numerous opportunities available for career choices. So in the early 18th century, society basically developed security measures to protect the people. During this era, night watches and security services were funded by duty taxes. Shortly after, U.S. settlers venturing out west quickly realized that hostile Indian tribes posed a threat to their personal safety. And for that reason, all able bodies were expected to man a post when necessary to protect themselves from the Indians. As time developed in the late 1700s, municipal police agencies were formed in American cities. Unfortunately, many of these departments were corrupt and inefficient, which led to an even greater demand for protection. You remember and recognize the name Pinkerton. Pinkerton's was one of the first private police agencies to emerge in order to protect the rail yards and industrial buildings of that time. And then in 1859, Perry Brinks started Brinks Incorporated as a freight and package delivery service, and that company still exists today. Soon after, many retired policemen opened up their own private detective agencies, and the demand began to grow for private security services. By 1970, more than double the amount of funds were spent on private security than police protection. That's a big statement. And even today, the amount of crime in the country is just too large for police agencies to handle by themselves. If you add the factors of 9/11 and the terrorist attack and the war on terror, this prompted a huge demand for security services in numerous fields such as transportation, retail, commercial buildings, and special events. So the bottom line is businesses in the United States today need security professionals more than ever. So let's look at the definition of private security, just so that we're on the same page as we explore this career field. The American Society for Industrial Security International, is the largest association of private security professionals in the U.S. And they define private security as this: it's the non-governmental private sector practice of protecting people, property, information, and conducting investigations, and otherwise safeguarding an organization's assets. That's a pretty good definition of private security, because that's pretty much what this industry does. But let's look at the huge potential in the private security sector. It's a $350 billion industry. Now, I don't know what that means to you, but to me, $350 billion worth of security service equals a lot of opportunity for you. So let's explore those opportunities. There's two basic types of private security. There's the proprietary security and contract security. And the major difference is, as an example, proprietary positions are when a security professional would work directly for an employer. For example, retail businesses routinely hire loss prevention agents and corporate security personnel to conduct audits, investigations, and protect their assets. So if you worked for that retailer, you would be a proprietary security professional. And on the flip side, you could work for a private security company that contracts with a retailer, a government agency, or any other client for security services. So those are the two main types of private security. Let's look at some of the major categories in the private security sector. And these are guard services, including armed guard services, alarm monitoring, both commercial and residential, corporate investigations, armor transport services, security consulting, pre-employment screening, and the IT information security sector. So let's dive in a little bit deeper to each one as we review the opportunities. Guards and officers are primarily used to protect people and property, whether it's a commercial building or residential building, and they provide a huge support service for law enforcement and emergency personnel. Guards also take on a huge role in the field of protecting executives. Now, this is becoming a extremely popular option in the United States, as top executives are viewed as valuable assets to the corporations, and they need bodyguards. They need protection. They need personal protection. Some companies, such as Oracle and Ford Motor, mentioned here, spend more than $1 million annually just to provide security services for their top executives. So it's important. Usually the role of the executive protection officer takes into account, they do screening for visitors at business, and guarding the perimeter of an executive's personal home, and providing 24-hour protection, including travel time with that executive. And one of the biggest fears of CEOs and top executives in the United States is the fear of being kidnapped and held for ransom. It is a legitimate fear, and the security professional provides a crucial and pivotal role in preventing kidnapping. Alarm services. These are commonly used in retail, residential, and manufacturing markets. Usually involves the use of some type of alarm in a building to detect intrusion and protect the assets of that business. The alarms are monitored by a central station operating usually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they alert the appropriate clients and parties, whether it be police, fire, or emergency personnel, when an alarm is activated. Many alarm companies will also dispatch armed officers to respond to a burglary call, for example, and to investigate the cause of the alarm. Investigations. In 2009, there were around 45,000 private detectives and investigators in the United States. And these would be divided up into the individual states. But they also do a lot of work for state and local government, department stores, financial institutions, insurance companies, employment services. Huge demand for PIs in the United States. Corporations hire them to conduct criminal cases like credit card fraud, internal theft, insurance fraud, and in some cases even industrial espionage. So I do have a PI license in the state of California, so I know this is a lucrative field. I personally know many investigators making high six figures in some specialty areas doing investigations for private companies. Very lucrative field. Armored transport. Approximately 150 armored transport companies in the United States today. And what do these guys do? You've seen them before. They carry a firearm and they're delivering cash, bonds, securities, gold, silver, jewelry, and other items of high value. And they're driving around in the bulletproof trucks, and they have a tough job. So the officers that provide this service usually get paid a little more, but there are some greater risks because of the dangers involved in transporting these high-end materials. Correctional facility management. In an effort to save money, many governments, state and county, are increasingly outsourcing their correctional services to private companies with private security professionals. The job basically entails providing security for housing units, monitoring inmates, doing perimeter checks, and of course reporting any incidents. So this is a growing field in the United States. Security consulting. Again, another lucrative field for those with experience. Security consultants work in diverse fields, including security management, crisis management, IT security, and they basically offer consulting, risk specialty evaluations, and expert advice on loss prevention, including even technological advice, sometimes physical security measures, and training as well. So again, this is a growing field that's in high demand. Pre-employment screening. Organizations must screen potential employees before making them a job offer. 99.9% of every corporation in America does this at some level. The most common techniques include a polygraph or a stress test exam and a basic background investigation where they're looking at your credit history, criminal record, make sure you're not a sex offender, checking your references, etc. Huge lucrative field for the private security professional. And then the IT security. IT security is responsible for implementing safeguards to corporate information from unauthorized access, destruction, or disclosure, or they're basically there to prevent hackers from hacking into their store systems and accessing their client or their corporation information. Huge demand for this right now, especially today's environment in the retail sector. If you look at some of the data breaches with Target and Bloomingdale's and Michael's and several other chains, it's costing them literally millions of dollars to fix these issues once it happens. So IT security professionals are in high demand. Residential security, these are the officers that maybe work for a community of high-end homes or gated communities where they're there to provide security protection, whether it's in a vehicle or on foot, just monitoring the premises and the entrances of these neighborhoods, maybe sometimes even surveilling with CCTV. So a very specialty niche in the security industry. Government security, believe it or not, the government outsources a ton of their local governments, their services to private police and corporate security. The Federal Protective Service, the FPS, employs 15,000 contract security personnel to guard over 9,000 federal government buildings. Very huge demand for these services. Healthcare, school security, another specialty niche. They basically monitor visitor control, internal, external theft, protection from fire, and other major security concerns in hospitals and healthcare facilities. So they'll have security personnel patrol the hallways, control access. And the risk at schools and education institutions is to protect the safety of the students and the staff from violence and vandalism, and of course theft. And the need today is even greater due to the rise in active shooter incidents across the country. This is a very alarming trend that we hope does not continue, but again, high demand for security professionals in these fields. I want to talk a little bit more about retail and corporate security, because this is something I have more experience with. And retailers across the country face a number of security issues, including shoplifters, vandalism, employee theft, and nearly every major retail chain in America employs some type of loss prevention or security personnel. So let's take a closer look at the loss prevention and corporate security opportunities, because I think you'll find them surprisingly lucrative. The different levels of corporate security, entry level is usually like a loss prevention agent where you would do shoplift assignments. And then you may be in charge of a single unit as a loss prevention manager of one store. And then you could even manage a flagship store like a downtown New York or a Hollywood flagship store as an LP manager. And then you might move up to a district loss prevention manager, which would usually be comprised of a handful of stores in a district. And then you have a regional loss prevention manager, maybe in charge of a specific regional area like Southern California. And then again, another level in the same category would be a regional loss prevention director. It's a little bit more responsibility. Maybe you're in charge of 3 or 4 regional managers. And then there's the regular corporate investigator, who's usually would be responsible for, a variety of investigations for a corporation. And then there's the divisional loss prevention manager, again, more responsibility. And then the director or vice president of loss prevention, which would put you in charge of numerous employees in numerous locations. So I want to talk about some exciting numbers. The public sector versus private sector salaries. Let's take a look at the difference between law enforcement and government salaries and the loss prevention salaries. So first we'll start with the public sector the public sector law enforcement salary. And what I want to do is just show you the lowest entry level for a police detective would be about $46,000. And then the average high is about $92,000. That's good money. The upper 10%, you're looking at, for an investigator, you're looking at about $97,000. Okay, and then the median salary for a police chief is about $95,000 in the United States. That's good money. And obviously this industry is expected to grow by 10% over the next decade. And most police officers can retire after 20 years with half their pay and usually maintain some type of health care coverage. So let's look at the private sector in comparison. Loss prevention salaries. Now there's about 20,000 jobs in this field, so there's a lot there. It's not a little bit. But let's look at some of the single unit loss prevention managers in the low range. Starting salary is $35,000. But the high range is about $90,000. Again, if you get a specialty store, flagship store. District loss prevention manager, again, more responsibility, $45,000 entry level, $110,000 on the high range, with an average of $75,000. That's pretty good. But again, you look at the corporate investigator, $50,000 entry level, up to $110,000, and you're looking at an average salary of $70,000. And then the exciting part here is you look at the divisional loss prevention managers, director of loss prevention, $90,000 starting, up to $310,000, with an average salary of $190,000. Now guys, this is not chump change. That's a good living. And I'm here to tell you, because I know this industry, these numbers are accurate. Okay, the potential is enormous. You just got to have the training and the experience. So the median average for a loss prevention professional is $101,000. That's exciting. Plus, if you look at some additional compensation components for loss prevention professionals, you look at bonuses. 80% of companies offer some type of bonus based on performance. You may get a vehicle allowance ranging from $3,000 to $12,000 annually in an added benefit. There's stock options, and then 401k, employee discounts, health insurance. So very, very lucrative. You know, surprise, surprise. You look at an investigator's annual median income of $60,900, and then you look at a loss prevention corporate investigator median income at $101,000. That's a huge difference, folks. And if you ask me, that makes for a very lucrative career. So, again, in conclusion, there are numerous career opportunities in this field. Each one is different, has unique challenges. I personally chose corporate security, and it's been very good to me. In the near future, I'll be providing some advanced training in this field for anyone interested in learning more. There's a huge potential to make a lot of money in this industry. And I want to show you by let's getting started, and let's dive into the next lesson. So we'll see you there.